Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Spiritual Boujee Astrology, and we are going to take a look at the astrological transits of April 22nd to April 28th. Now, before we do any type of recap or look ahead, we've got a couple little house cleaning things, just a little housekeeping, just keeping it real. One, I said at the beginning of the month that whenever it came to my interactive things that I like to do in the evening times with you guys, that for the month of April, throughout the Mercury retrograde, instead of doing Facebook Lives or TikTok Lives, I would be doing interactive Zooms. I've been doing them twice a week, Monday and Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And this week is the last week that I will be doing those interactive Zooms on both Monday and Wednesday. I specifically tested this out during the Mercury retrograde to see how it was going to go, to get a feel of like which day would be better to do this, because when the Mercury retrograde ends, I'm going to be redoing some things in my weekly schedule to be able to accommodate as much of the interactive live things that I like to do beyond just my appointment sessions and the podcast and things along those lines. So I like to be accessible to you guys, but I've been testing out a different way of doing it, and it's gone over really, really well. Whenever it has come to the people that have been coming on and us being able to hear all of the different ways that some of these transits have manifested in people's lives and the dynamic that has been shifting, it's been really helpful for people to come on and get advice from other people and not have that type of fear in mind that, like, okay, but if I take your advice, like, how do you benefit from this? Because even though we don't need to think that way, many people do. So there's been this whole energy of just coming on and getting support in an unbiased manner and adding in the astrology to get more clarity as to how things are going to continue. Number two. Since the beginning of March, I have lowered the pricing of my normal coaching sessions. Normally, an hour with me would cost $50. I have lowered that down to $35. My 90-minute session, I have even lowered down to 50. So that would normally be 75. I lowered it down to 50. And I said that I would keep those prices lower through eclipse season and through the Mercury retrograde. That means we're wrapping up April and those discounted prices are almost done. So if you are wanting to book a session with me at the discounted prices, you only have a few more days. It's not even 2 weeks. So a few more days to actually get those booked. Your appointment does not have to happen in the month of April to capitalize on that pricing, because I've already had people specifically needing the book in May. So if you're wanting time with me and you're wanting it at that discounted price, you have a few more days to do that. And if you're wanting to gift this, because we're really getting close to Mother's Day, if you're wanting to gift these types of readings to somebody, I do gift certificates as well. That's just kind of an extra thing to let everybody know about. So just so you guys are aware, we're getting close to the end of that. So if you're wanting time with me, that one-on-one time, make sure you're getting those booked. Okay. Again, we're wrapping up April. Now, some of the things that I have been saying since the beginning of the month that I'm going to kind of wrap up into this intro right here. The entire month of April has been about change. The entire month. Every day in April, we have been building up to the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And the thing about this month and the fact that we've had the eclipse axis going on and we've had the Mercury retrograde going on top of that energy, the manifestations as to where the changes are meant to happen for you based off of the human effect can be very, very different than the way that they're actually playing out in the sky. And this is why I have said the entire month of April has been about change. Now, I did a video on the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, and I said, like, whenever it came to that energy, whatever happened on the 20th could have been the most mundane thing possible for you in the moment, because that particular transit is a transit that changes the wave and the pattern and the surroundings, and not so much direct things in your life. The other transits that have been going on have been where the direct changes have been. And the human effect is some people had direct changes last week, specifically whenever we had the Mercury Venus conjunction. For some people, you're going to be going through the changes this week as we're getting closer to the full moon, because that's how we start that week. But we are also in the process of wrapping up Mercury retrograde. If your changes, if the big dynamic changes of whatever the month of April was meant to be for you happened at the beginning of the month, the entire rest of April, you have just been kind of like waiting and waiting and waiting. And I don't know what's going on, but I'm waiting because you're expecting more. There's nothing wrong with that. And being prepared for more, but not actually having it is a good thing, in my opinion. It's better to be prepared for the worst, but hope for the best. And for some of us, the entire month has been just an energetic, atmospheric change, a hopeful vibration change, something that leads to more excitement, something that's going to lead to more hope and more connection and growth and change and abundance. The quality of who we've been connecting to is meant to change. And if the quality of what our vibration is rising to doesn't mesh with everybody in your surroundings, then that's where most people were having the rethinking and the revisions. But not everybody is in that type of discourse. A lot of us are in a lot more alignment. So what we're feeling is the vibration change. So some people, you messaged me over the weekend. You did. You messaged me last week. You messaged me over the weekend, like, where is this big, exciting change? It's not necessarily that it's one big change. It's the whole picture. It's the big flow of energy. And we are going to start to round into something new as we go into May. Now, what that moo, I'm counting now, moo, whatever that new is for you can be simple and mundane. For other people, it can be very, very big in regards to what you're needing to do treatments in, because I talk about the medical side a lot, where you're going next in your career. Some people are looking at the idea of going back to school. Some people are wanting to start their own businesses. Some people are selling the family home. Some people are trying to go through the process of buying their first home. The way this manifests for everybody is different. Part of that is based off of how it appears in your chart. Part of it has to do with your activation planets. Not everybody is being activated by Jupiter and Uranus at the same time. So we can see a huge difference in the wave and not so much in the exact moment. Now, to be clear, there were a lot of changes last week, and we still have some changes that are going to happen this week. And the problem that I have with this week, and I don't mean this in the negative sense per se, but some people are going to hear it this way. The problem that's going to happen this week is that we are going to start the week with a full moon in Mars's sign. But we're also in the final days of a Mercury retrograde. So even the dynamic of whatever that full moon is, which that full moon, to be clear, that's the end of eclipse season. I count it from whatever lunation started the eclipse energy is the one that ends it. So we started with a full moon in Libra back on March 25th. We are ending eclipse season with a full moon in Scorpio. That's just the way I feel about it. So we're shifting towards something. And for a lot of people, again, the shifts that we're going into are long-term shifts. That means they're going to be slow moving. We are in the final week of change. Some of those changes are going to be through the full moon. I'm done. This is over. We're through, moving on, going another direction. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want this problem. Not my pig, not my farm. However, in other dynamics, everything this week is going to be mental. And for some people, that's not going to be good. Mercury going through Aries has had a purpose. And some people have not been able to handle the Mercury and Aries energy very, very well. They have been flying off at the handle. Pop off season has been real. And some of the things that we have said, they have hurt. Some of the things that have been said to you have been hurtful. Some of them have just been curt and matter of fact. And you didn't know necessarily how to handle it. I have a feeling that a lot of people this week are going to be very curt, matter of fact, to the freaking point, no bullshit. And if you don't like how they're saying it, there's the door. I don't care. I'm not going to be sensitive. And there's going to be some deep-seated reactions that are going to come to the surface based off of the fact that we are going to have the end of the Mercury retrograde in Mars' sign and a full moon in Mars' sign. I cannot talk today. Mars' sign squaring Pluto. Now, over the weekend, the Sun-Pluto square went exact. And we became aware, either energetically, or we had certain discussions with people from the past or the people in our surroundings about what has changed and how we're doing things now, what we're doing now. And for everybody that's in different energies, if you did just, turn in your notice to the job, to your boss that you're changing, then some element of this next week can be like the slow version of this is my final week here. These are my final days here. And you're going to see the underbelly of certain people and the way they're reacting to certain things because they're mad at you. Not everybody does well in separation. Other people, you're just going to be coasting for part of this week. And there will not be a huge portion of that mental energy that's necessary. However, others are going to be in that mindset of they're going to need to get something revised, finalized, changed, a final wrap up in some part of what is going on. Some of us that wrap up, that revision, it's not going to be with people. It's going to be in the mundane sense. It's going to be in the structure. It's going to be in your work. It's going to be in the things that you are trying to go through that you've been putting into order. It's a shift in the routine. That final little adjustment. But if you're not anticipating how slow this week is going to go, because for some people, it's going to be a really slow moving week. Even with the full moon, it's still going to be a really slow moving week. Because Mercury, since that conjunction to Venus, has started to slow down and starting to station and is just waiting for the right minute to go back the other way. If you are anticipating the big dynamic things happening this week, then it's likely to happen around the full moon. But if you're not anticipating anything big, if you go into this week with the mindset that it's going to potentially be a little bit slower, and because it's going to be slower and other people aren't going to know how to deal with that, they're going to get frustrated. Or if you did just turn in your notice and you're going through the motions of like, this is my final week and I'm going to start delegating all of these things off. And this ain't my mess anymore. This is not what I do anymore. This isn't where my energy is anymore. If you are prepared for that alleviation and that slowness, you'll do well. But for other people, you are not going to do well. You're going to find your moments where your anxiety and your head is just spinning. And there will be some final level of confusing action once we get closer to the week if we're not doing well in this energy. It really kind of comes down to how you've been coping through the weekend going into the start of this week. Did you have change recently? No, that's okay. Yes. Okay. Then some parts of that's going to slow down. Some of that anxiety could slow down, but for other people, that anxiety is going to spike. And a lot of that has to do with Mercury. And I need people to be prepared for those spikes in anxiety. Just be prepared. Okay. Okay. Let's take a look at the trans. Let's take a look at Monday. All right, Monday. The moon is going to be in Libra all day. We can just start with that. The moon is going to be in Libra. We start this part of the transits real early in the morning because we have two things that are going on simultaneously. One, the moon is going to make a conjunction to the south node between 5 and 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. But simultaneous to that, the moon is going to hit this opposition to Mercury. Some people are going to go into the office on Monday having had some type of feeling coming through, and they're going to have a conversation with somebody going, Kenna, is there anything I can do to change your mind? Some of us are going to be telling somebody else something that has been discovered that could be impacting the body. It really kind of comes down to how some of the things that went this last week, especially if we did some of the medical checks, because for a lot of people, there was some of the medical things last week. But there's some element here of talking about a decision, a discovery, the information that has come to light, because while the moon was going through Virgo, there was a lot of information shared, a lot of ideas, a lot of tangibleness, a lot of documentation. For some people, we need to make a decision. And Monday is the day that we need to make a decision, that we are going in a certain direction, that we need to handle something, that we're going to focus on something. And this is the most exact first thing in the morning, but it will kind of be the wave of energy that kind of processes through today. So if you are dealing with a lot of the medical things, you can be getting results for something specifically on Monday morning, especially if you did exams or labs or anything last week. If last week you did do that break up, break off, here's my notice, I quit, I'm resigning, whatever you did, there's some element of that we're still talking about first thing Monday morning. Is it all going to happen at 6:30 in the morning? No, but the human effect is like, this is the energy and the vibe that takes up most of the day, given that these are the first things that are perfecting. Now, the Sun and Pluto are still separating from their square. That again went exact on Sunday. Jupiter and Uranus are still very, very much in their conjunction. Yes, they are separating from the exact, but they're still conjunct. We're still in their vibe. We're still in their energy. And we're seeing a slow shift in information, slow shifts in the decision making, and an awareness of what is being lost based off the recent findings, negotiations, decisions, notices, whatever it's been. Okay. Moving this along, we're going to get into the evening time. I mean, the moon's going to be, again, in the sign of Libra all day long. We're going to get to right around 5:30. So we got two things that are going on simultaneously again. Between 4 and 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, so that's why I have this at 5:30, the moon hits the opposition to Chiron simultaneously. Between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m., the moon is hitting the opposition to Venus. We can be aware of something that needs to be cared for in a certain way based off of Chiron. We can be talking about something that needs to be fixed or looked at or addressed in a very certain way. That can be big stuff, that can be small stuff, but we become very aware of something that needs to be fixed, something that got broke over the weekend, something that we need to get looked at. But we can also become very aware of a solution very, very quickly. It's like coming home going, babe, the garbage disposal is like clogged. Can you take a look at it? And then after you get underneath there, you're able to like fix it really fast. That is the moon's opposition to Chiron. The fix is the moon's opposition to Venus because it's so quick. Now, for some people, these are not going to be two simultaneous things that just do a follow through. So it's not going to be like the garbage disposal situation. It could be something else in the sense of like, You're hearing from one person that they're not feeling well, that they're hurting, that something needs to be looked at, that we have some additional care that needs to be made. But with the moon's opposition to Venus, you're talking to somebody else completely, and you're hearing about how good the day went, how great everything is, how happy they are. We can be talking about how much better somebody looks, something about their aesthetic change. Like, you look so great. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. This type of thing does not have to be heavy. I like the energy whenever it comes to Monday evening. I feel like the earlier parts of Monday has a bit of that anxious anxiety weightedness to it. We are still building up to a full moon, and parts of what we can be dealing with can also be more and more of that buildup, knowing that we have some additional layers to something that are coming through, even though it's not necessarily a full moon in Venus's sign. Venus has had a whole big hand in whatever's going on with the Jupiter Uranus and whatever was going on between the Sun Pluto square. So this additional layer of whatever we're talking about with the moon's opposition to Venus can literally just be talking about what's changed over the weekend. She's hosting a lot of energy. So let's be aware of that. Now, after the moon's opposition to Venus, it's going to go void. So I don't expect a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of dynamics whenever it comes to Monday evening. I feel like everything's going to kind of be at a very certain type of vibe. And then whatever happens afterwards, there's no events. It's really chill. There's not a whole lot going on. And then we're going to get into Tuesday. Now, Tuesday is the full moon in Scorpio, but we don't start with the moon in Scorpio. We still have the moon in Libra. And the moon is going to be in Libra until 10:20 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I'm going to get this to 10:30. Here's the moon, newly in Scorpio. We're building up to a full moon. We're in the full moon vibe. We're feeling that energy, but it is not exact. It is not exact. And as much as we can be feeling the full moon energy, I'm still putting into the fact that Mercury is slowing down. And there is a restlessness and a lot of anxiety that can be felt around this full moon. Shorter tempers. Be aware of this. Mercury's turning direct 2 days from now in a Mars ruled sign. This is a full moon in a Mars ruled sign. And some of the things that can be popping off can be very, very deep things that need to be brought up. Deep things being brought to the surface. It's going to be interesting. I can expect a lot of emotional triggers for some people. Okay. Moving this along between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this at 2:30. The moon will make its exact square to Pluto. So here's the moon, 2 degrees, 6 minutes. Here's Pluto, 2 degrees, 5 minutes. We're really close. The moon square to Pluto can be a discussion again about some recent changes, some of our trauma, something to do with fear. This is a full moon that's also in Pluto sign. So we can be hearing from somebody else's experience, somebody else's ideas, somebody else's concept, or fearing the worst. Pluto is starting to slow down. Pluto is starting to get closer to turning retrograde. So some element of this can be very, very triggering where we know we need to make some kind of change. But in some element, it's like, well, if you're going to do this, I don't know that I can go with you. I don't know that I can support this. I don't know that I can be a part of this. Or I remember whenever I made that kind of decision and how it impacted me later. So I don't know that I want to do all of this with you. I can help you a little bit, but not a lot. Because again, this is a full moon squaring Pluto, and Pluto is going to turn retrograde within 2 weeks of this transit. So be aware that some of what we are going to be changing, not everybody is going to be on board with, not everybody is going to be on the same page with, not everybody's going to be having fun with it. Moving along. The full moon in Scorpio will go exact at 6:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I got this pretty close. So there's at 6:30. Here's the full moon. The thing is, there's no other direct transits going on. Yes, this is a full moon squaring Pluto. but Mercury is slowing down. We have no other direct transits going on, no one else being really impacted. And this can be an either very emotionally triggering full moon, something that really solidifies the recent needs of and the recent changes that we have made. But there's something very affirming in this full moon. And I really want you guys to think about what changes have come through since late March. I'm not just talking about that full moon in Libra, because remember, right before that, we had the Venus-Saturn conjunction. So I'm saying the last 2 weeks of March. What has changed? What directions have come through? What paths have unfolded since late March that now we're far more aware of? What connections have you changed, either got rid of or added to, depending on your situation, since late March? Because there's a path, there's an affirmation, there's something very, very resolving and confirming about this full moon. And it's like it finalizes many, many changes. Is it all going to finalize in the exact moment? No, it never does. But the energy, the wave of energy around it, this is either going to be very emotionally triggering for some people, or it's going to be hugely reaffirming. And I need you to be prepared for both. If you're feeling the anxiety, I understand. If you're feeling a huge wave of confidence that you're going to be able to take something on new, I understand that too. I'm anticipating both sides. Okay. After the full moon in Scorpio, not a whole lot going on. It's really not. We're going to get into the 24th. Now, the 24th is Mercury's last full day being retrograde. So there is something while we're still in the full moon energy where we feel like we have changes coming through and changes that we need to make. And our minds can be spinning based off of what has been triggered. We can feel this wave of like reaffirmment based off what has been triggered, and we can just start to feel like this boost in our confidence. It really kind of depends on where you're at. And some of us might be working through some things, like physically working through certain documents to get them understood by other people, because we're about to make some shifts. And that energy is going to be a big part of the entire day to the 24th. Now, here's the thing about the 24th. There's only one transit, and it's not even a big transit, and it goes the most exact between 5 and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and that is the moon is going to make a trine to Saturn. Now, what's interesting to me is while the moon is in this trine to Saturn, it is also in conjunct Mercury, who again is slowing down and is about to make a change and is trying to get certain things off of its plate. It is about to change its opinion, change its direction, change its focus. And we know we are trying to eliminate certain things that we don't want to focus on anymore. That's the moon's in conjunction to Mercury. This isn't mine to deal with. This isn't mine to be upset about. This isn't mine to take care of. It's not mine anymore. So what are we doing? We are assuming certain responsibilities with the moon's trine to Saturn. Like, all right, well, you're quitting. Give me your workload. Give me your passwords. Give me your keys. Give me whatever you're doing. And some of us were the Saturnian one of saying, give me that. Others, we're the moon person, be like, and this is yours, and this is, and this, and not mine anymore. And I don't want to deal with this. And there you go. And it's like letting go of certain energy. Another element that this can be, if you're not in the liberation and eliminating certain things out of your life energy, is that with the moon's trine to Saturn, it's like getting some kind of understanding from an authority figure or giving guidance and understanding as an authority figure, because sometimes we are the Saturnian ones. And we're trying to give guidance and give focus on a change that we have not been able to address yet. Well, I know so-and-so's leaving. What are we going to do next? I don't know yet. I haven't decided. I need some time to think. I need some time to plan. I need some time to interview some people. What did you hear anything from the doctor? No, we didn't hear from that scan yet. We didn't get the results yet. We don't know anything yet. We haven't got everything yet. And that's because, again, there's some part of the moon's Mercury of not seeing eye to eye, that it's either, again, awareness of what's being left behind, or it's the awareness that we haven't got all the information yet. We're all in different places. And again, sometimes we're the Saturnian one. Sometimes we're going to be the Mercury one going, I'm just going to get all this done, and I don't really care if they like it or not. I don't really care if they agree. Not everybody's going to be seeing eye to eye. But aside from that, this is the only transit, again, to Wednesday. This is the last day of Mercury being direct. And there's not a lot of heaviness. It's going really slow. Each day feels like it's going to take forever. And if you are not prepared for that, there can be a lot of anxiety. Now we're going to get into Thursday. Now, the moon is going to be in Scorpio most of the day. So we're going to start with that right there. We've got a couple things going on early in the morning that are going to really kind of set the stage for how some of this day is going to go. Thursday has a lot more energy to it. Well, first off, the moon is going to hit an opposition to Uranus. And this goes the most exact between 4:30 and 6:30 a.m. And then the moon's going to hit the opposition to Jupiter between 6 and 8 a.m. You might not have an early morning appointment. You might be getting called that somebody is at your office waiting on you to show up. You didn't know they were coming. They were not planned. This was not what we thought the day was going to start with. And it's like you get the unexpected phone call, the unexpected news, the unexpected confirmation, the unexpected email asking you to meet within the hour, telling you that as soon as you get there, somebody's waiting in your office. There is something about the first part of the morning on Thursday where you need to expect the unexpected. It does not have to be negative. When the moon hits the opposition to Jupiter, that level of excitement, the change in the energetic pattern, the shift in regards to who we're getting clarity from, guidance, opportunity, that can come through. Sometimes we're the moon person, sometimes we're the Jupiter person. Hey, I just wanted to come talk to you because I got this really great idea. I've got this really great opportunity. I've got this really great thing. Oh, okay, cool. Let me put my stuff down. It happens so matter of fact and so simultaneous to one another that I really feel like some people are going to have unexpected things and unexpected benefits to the early part of Thursday because that Jupiter energy is still there. Now, what's interesting is while this is happening, this is also whenever Mercury is going to go direct while these are happening. So again, the moon opposition to Uranus between 4:30 and 6:30 a.m. The moon's opposition to Jupiter is between 6 and 8 a.m. and at 7:55 a.m. So right whenever the moon is going through that opposition to Jupiter, that is when Mercury turns direct. The unexpected thing that comes through is a part of the shift in our mindset, the shift in our routine, the shift in what we're working through, the shift in what we're talking about, the interaction that comes through, the connection that is coming through, the appointments that are being had, the unexpected thing that happens feeds into Mercury going direct. Again, the last time Mercury was at this area of the sky was the last 2 weeks of March. What has changed for you over the last month? Because we're at this last little round that speaks to change and turnaround and something new and a shift in the information, a shift in the dialogue, a shift in our mindset. This does not have to be heavy. For some people, it will be. For other people, not so much. Now, as the day continues, we're going to get to just after lunchtime, and the moon is going to hit this trine to Mars. So this goes the most exact between 12:30 and 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I got this at 1:30. Here's the moon, 26 degrees, 16 minutes, making this trine to Mars. It's just past the exact. If you have one opportunity or one way this day is supposed to go, and you get an unexpected phone call that says that you need to go meet with somebody ASAP, that could interrupt your entire day. And some people need to be understanding of certain disruptions. And the moon's trine to Mars can be exactly that. Like, I need to reschedule you. Something happened this morning. Oh, something came up. Something that wasn't planned. Something fell onto our laps. It fell onto our plates. Something was not anticipated. And the moon's trine to Mars is like calling everybody throughout the day and pushing their appointments, rescheduling them, whatever it is. We need understanding to the disruption. Now, the moon is in Mars' sign. So some people might not like it. Some people are going to want to know a little bit more. Well, why do we need to reschedule? I've been waiting for 3 weeks for this appointment. Why do we need to reschedule now? Because it was necessary. For other people, this is going to feed into a shift in the motivation because Mars is hosting Mercury, who just turned direct. Hey, I'm letting you know that thing that we thought was true, that thing that we thought was going on. Yeah, that just finally came to a head. So-and-so's leaving. So-and-so got caught. And there's some type of energy that speaks to, again, a turnaround in the mindset, a turnaround in the situation, an unexpected situation that another person will learn or understand or need guidance about or get confirmation of, depending on how we're looking at the situation. Now, after the moon trines Mars, the moon is going to trine Neptune. And this is going to happen a little bit later. So between 5 and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I got this at 6:30. Here's the moon, 28 degrees, 53 minutes, making just past that trine to Neptune. Oh my God. Do you remember whenever so-and-so was acting this way? Do you remember whenever they were acting kind of weird? There's some nostalgic level based off of some of the sudden events that have happened throughout the day. And it's like you start playing everything back in your head and you're like, do you remember when? Do you remember when? Do you remember how? Do you remember this? Do you remember that? Da, 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 da. And there can be something very, very nostalgic in the thing that we're talking about and what has our mind spinning. That's if we're on the gossip train. Not everybody's in the gossip train. So let's be honest about that. Some people are going to have just had an unexpected call, and it could have been from the doctor, it could have been from the teacher. And we're talking now about the effects of how the day has gone and what has all occurred and where the situation is, especially if part of the unexpected phone call that you got that morning was from the teacher because your kid's been acting out. And now we're talking about what we do next, how we handle it. Are we going to punish? Are we going to try something else? What do we need to do differently, depending on the level and the situation that's going on? Some people, we have to talk about the effect of something, especially if there's going to be an effective treatment or something in regards to medicine. Now, I want you guys to be very, very aware of whatever is being in the conversation as we get into the later parts of the 25th. Because when the moon goes through these trines to both Mars and Neptune, please note Mars and Neptune are now within 2 degrees of each other. We usually look at 3 degrees, but I feel like the moon's energy here is going to activate some things that make us aware of what this conjunction is going to lead to. And that conjunction actually is how we end this week and start the next week. So be very, very aware of the conversations and the topics and the issues and whatever's going on Thursday. Yes, there was some slow energy through Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday, not slow. Thursday has a lot of things going on. And it can make us very, very aware of where we need to make some adjustments following the weekend, following this moment. Okay, moving along. We're going to get into Friday. No, we're not. At 8:38 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon's going to go into Sagittarius. There you go. And then we're going to get into Friday. Sorry. Right after midnight, you can see the moon is going to go through a sextile with Pluto. Now, that full moon was in a square to Pluto. So again, that could have been triggering for a lot of people. Now that the moon is in Sagittarius, now that the moon is in Jupiter's sign, we can be hopeful about how we handle something moving forward, about what changes need to be made, about how we overcome the past, how we overcome the triggers, and how we release certain fears. This again goes the most exact between midnight and 2 a.m. So we got this right here. Here's the sextile. And then it's going to keep going. And the thing about the moon and Sag is that there ain't a whole lot going on. All of the other transits that are building or separating are just the human effect of like continuous flow of energy. And some of us are going to go into Friday knowing that we're at this final moment of releasing certain things and letting certain things go and liberating ourselves from certain things. Or we have a different focus in regards to the mindset of a lot of the energy that's going on. And some people are, wrapping up the week, not seeing eye to eye with everybody. I say that because in the early morning, the moon is going to go in conjunct the sun. So not seeing eye to eye with certain people. You are making changes and they are staying the same. The people that are staying the same are not necessarily understanding everything that is going on with the other people who are making changes. Very clear, concise of, okay, well, good for you. Go on. I'm going to go do this. Okay. Go on. Does not have to be heavy, does not have to be traumatic, does not have to be triggering. Now, the one thing that I will say about this particular Mercury retrograde is that Mercury starts moving again really quickly. He turned direct at 15 degrees and 58 minutes. He's already back at the 16-degree mark. He does not stay stuck for very long, but we will still have a lot of slow mental energy. And again, there can be a lot of anxiousness. There can be a lot of restlessness. There can be some anxiety going on. But really, whenever it comes to Friday, there's not a whole lot there. There's not a whole lot of energy. We are getting to the weekend. We're getting into Saturday. All right. Now, the moon is still going to be in Sag all day. Between 2 and 4 a.m., the moon is going to square Saturn simultaneously. The moon is going to trine Mercury, and we're going to feel that the most between 1:30 and 4 a.m. So I got this at 2:30. Here's the moon, 15 degrees. Here's the trine to Mercury. Here is the square to Saturn. Now, the human effect is not everybody is dealing with something at 1, 2, and 3 o'clock in the morning. Some people, we are going to be very restless. Our minds are going to be spinning, and we're going to be thinking about what responsibilities are shifting, who's going to be doing what, and what needs to be done moving forward, where the mental focus is going to be. Have you talked to the boss about all those changes you're about to make? Not really, but I know it just needs to be done. So this is what we're doing. This is happening really late. Well, really early in the morning. So for some people, the human effect is this is going to be part of the tension and the conversation and the weightedness in regards to what changes are going on that is going to be talked about late Friday evening. For other people, this has got a hopeful energy, and it kind of takes us into what we're going to be doing first thing Saturday morning. If you're up in the middle of the night and you're having a hard time sleeping and your anxiety is spiked and you're trying to figure out like what you're going to do about what, please understand that this is temporary energy. And once these transits have perfected, you will probably be able to sleep. But because it's going on through most of the overnight hours, it's not going to be a lot of fun for a lot of people. Okay. Moving this along, we're getting to the early morning hours. And between 10 a.m. and noon, the moon is going to make a trine to Chiron. hopeful action, hopeful fixes, hopeful ideas. The moon's in Sagittarius. Jupiter, of course, is leaving its separation from Uranus. They're now more than a degree apart. Are we still in their vibe? Absolutely. What did the Jupiter-Uranus energy bring together for you over the last month? Now that we have the moon back in a Jupiter sign, part of the flow and the wave can all have to do with what that energy has brought for you. Whether through direct actions or indirect actions, we have this vibration that is changing. The moon's trying to Chiron, understanding about how we move forward, understanding about how we're going to heal, what we want moving forward in the healing process, how we're going to fix certain things, what we're going to be doing moving forward. This is not heavy energy. You can literally just be talking about fixing something super mundane in the house whenever it comes to Chiron's energy. It does not have to be the most profound type of healing possible, trust me. Okay. As the day progresses, there's not a whole lot going on. There's not, literally not until after midnight. So this is another one of those times that what I explain next, even though it perfects on Sunday, it can be the human effect of Saturday late night. And some people are going to feel really gracious about the idea of like, I want to go out. I want to celebrate. I want to get some stress off. I want to do something different. I got to get my mind out of this situation. I need this change. And this energy has a heavy influence energy whenever it comes to if we're going out to celebrate. Again, what I'm about to explain, it happens technically on Sunday, but the human effect is, for a lot of us, that's still going to be Saturday night. So we'll start with this. Between 12:30 and 2:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, so I got this right at 12:30, the moon is going to hit this square to Mars. Keep it going. Between 1:30 and 3 a.m., the moon is going to trine Venus. Between 1:30 and 3:30, so basically our time frame is 12:30 at night to 3:30 at night, the moon is going to trine Neptune, or a square Neptune. We can be having some excitement, going out vibing. We're having fun with a lot of people and doing a lot of things. We can be celebrating or out doing some kind of action or reaction. Again, I feel like there's going to be some celebrating going on to this later evening thing. But then whenever the moon hits the square to Neptune, that might not be a good thing. That's not a good energy considering Mars and Neptune are coming into their conjunction. So for some people, if you are out doing the celebration thing, be aware of your surroundings. Do not drink and drive. Get a freaking Uber. I say this to you guys all the time. I don't care if you want to go out and celebrate. Go do your thing, boo-boo. But don't do it in a stupid way. I say that way too often. And I mean it right here. The hopeful energy of what the moon in Sagittarius can bring, and all of this Jupiter energy, and Venus is about to change signs type of thing, we can be also being very, very inspired and talking to other people about our inspiration. Now, again, this energy is happening really late on Saturday, early on Sunday. So the human effect is this can be a big part of what we were dealing with earlier in the day on Saturday, or it's going to be what we're going to be dealing with once we get into Sunday. Now, we can be very excited about some actions. We can be also questioning whether we've made the right decisions, and we're telling some people about what we're going to be doing moving forward, where these opportunities are going to be moving forward. But when they ask you certain elements as to what that opportunity is going to bring, like they start going into exacts of like, okay, so do you know your boss? Do you know your client base? Do you know anything yet? Nope, I don't know shit about that yet. And we know that certain actions that we are about to take are still unknown. They are still cloudy. And that can be, again, a big part of that mental energy of where we have anxiety. So there can be some confusion even that's coming through in these late night hours of Saturday going into Sunday. There can also be that medicinal vice effect. And again, don't drink and drive. I always say that. I mean it. Don't drink and drive. There's no reason for it nowadays. Okay. At 4:38 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to go into Capricorn. Since Mercury has been in Aries, this is not the first time we've had the moon in Capricorn. I have really enjoyed the moon in the earth signs since Mercury has been in Aries. Now, Mercury is direct. Mercury is slowly trying to get some things going, and he's slowly starting to move. The moon going into Saturn sign means we are making a very strategic energy at hand. We are focused on something very, very real and very, very tangible. We have something there we are wanting to unload, something that is about to progress, something that is about to come through, something that is about to change and transform. And that transformation is, again, a big part of the whole April is all about changes energy. So be aware of that. All day, Mars and Neptune are entering their conjunction, but it will not go exact this week. It actually goes exact on Monday. But whatever is starting to come together, there's a responsibility tied to it. We are becoming aware that we have a new responsibility to go through. We are far more aware that we have a responsibility that needs to come to an ending in some ways, because again, Venus is at her final degrees here. The Mars Neptune conjunction, they're happening at 28 degrees. So we become very aware that something is about to come to a close or is about to start up. And I feel like more people are in the about to start up phase because, again, we're getting closer to May, and every day in May feels like we're waking up to the new normal. So we can be gearing up for whatever that new normal is going to be the next week. Okay. Moving this along. The moon is going to be in Capricorn all day long. And then whenever we get to the evening time, that's when we get the first transit. Like the moon's just going through Capricorn. We need to get a bunch of things in order. We need to put our focus in certain places. And then once we get into the evening time, between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to trine the sun. Earth to earth, tangible to tangible. What are we working through? What are we aware is about to change? The sun is in Venus's sign, and this is the last full day of Venus in Aries. We have the Mars-Neptune conjunction that is starting to take shape. We know we are about to start taking new actions, solidifying long-term change, solidifying long-term adjustments, putting new energies at play that have been shifted all through these last few months into what's about to be this new normal. And the grandeur of how big or how small that new normal is going to vary for everybody. But we're aware of it. And we can be discussing certain responsibilities, certain ideas, getting some things prepared for what's about to happen next, getting our mind in order, becoming more grounded, go outside, touch earth, feeling like a lot more things are about to fall into place, are about to fall into alignment, and knowing that the next layer, the next offer, the next round of opportunity is about to commence over the next week. The last 2 to 3 days of April, going into the first few days of May. There's a big portion of the energy that takes place in the final days of this week that will directly be carrying us into the next week. And again, into what's going to become this new normal in our daily lives. It's going to vary for everybody. But if I keep this going, you just see this a few more hours. It's literally right as we get into the midnight hour. So this is 11:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Mars and Neptune start their conjunction. They will still be in their conjunction as we get into the next day. Like it is very, very tight. Right as this is coming together, this Mars-Neptune energy, this is really going to be taking place for us once we get into Monday the next day because of how late it's happening. And again, this is the last little bit of Venus in Aries. So we're prepared to move forward into new action, to move into something new. But that something new is not happening next weekend. It's going to happen next week. There's a lot of dynamic change. But the change, again, in the human effect, is manifesting for everybody in different places at different times, at different levels. Part of this week that we're going to go through is going to be slower than molasses on a cold winter's day. It ain't going to move. It ain't going to move. Some of us, as we go through part of this week, the reason we're not going to be moved is because we're going to have these deep-seated wounds and fears that are getting triggered in that full moon. But not everybody is going to be triggered. Some people are going to feel the dynamic change of personal power and personal strength, and knowing that whatever happens next, we've reached a peak in certain levels of transformation and grace, and knowing that even though we've hit a peak in our strength and in our grace, other people are going to start seeing it and receiving it in a whole new way. This is the final week of people's changes. Some of us, we have had small little mundane changes all through the month, all through the month of April. And it's been very hard to measure them as anything besides small little changes. But the thing is if you think about the changes in your production, the changes in your businesses, the changes in your dynamic and in your behavior and in your motivation, if you look at it in the scope of like what was motivating you back in February versus what is motivating you now, it's two different mindsets, it's two different energies. Something has shifted in the goal, something has shifted in the focus. Some people will have some final shifts in the focus this week between that Scorpio full moon and the end of the Mercury retrograde. Whatever it is, we're becoming more and more aware of the disruption and the effect once we get to the end of next week. And that really comes through with the Mars-Neptune conjunction. And I do feel like more people are going to feel that on Monday than they are on Sunday. Because whenever we get into Monday, that's whenever Venus is going to change signs. That'll be the last full day of Mars going through Pisces. And then Mars is going to change signs. This is a final week of change. This is a final week of dynamic, of adjustments, of revising, of reshaping, of restructuring, of rethinking. We've got new information that will come through based off Mercury turning direct. And then after the new information comes through, basically after Thursday, because Thursday midweek, that's got a lot of energy to it. All the other days, not so much. It's like once we get through Thursday, we become far more aware of our trajectory, of what's taking shape, of where the new norm is going to be moving from here. Every day in May will be a new normal, waking up to the new normal. Day 1 will not feel the same as day 30. It's just not. But whenever it comes to the dynamic of getting more stabilized, getting more sturdy, getting more comfortable, getting more secure, and how the energy is moving and where we're going from here, we can be aware if we're taking notice of what's going on around us, of how things are taking shape. Once we get loaded up and set up and understood and in our new comfort zone and our new rut and whatever the new normal is based off of all the changes that have happened in May, that new normal will expand very quickly in June. So please understand, Last week of dynamic changes. We've been getting shifted into wherever we needed to be on the chessboard for a while. We've made some plays. Some people have been removed based off of the way the game went. And now we're going to be dealing with the aftermath, the new normal, the new ways of doing things, new solid energy. Once we get into May, this is that last week of change. This is the last week of mental unrest. And as we get into May, there will definitely be something that is being pushed and solidified based off of Mars going into Aries. And that is how we're going to start the next week. This week is a week of mental and emotional triggers for a lot of people. Some of you will have something actually happening in your world, in your realm, in your real life that will cause that trigger. For other people, it's just going to be the deep-seated emotions and the wounds, and here it is. I need to purge this. I need it to release. I need it to let go. For some people, this week is nothing but internal energy. Literally until we get to the end of the week. And then we get some type of new motivation setting in to where we're going to make long-term adjustments and really allow for the long-term change to start to set in. It's going to be an interesting week. I'm kind of excited for it. I hope you guys can be prepared. I hope everybody can do well with the full moon energy. And if you are not doing well with it and you feel the emotional trigger, whether it's going to be on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, hop on those Zooms, my interactive Zooms. Those sessions can be very, very helpful for you. If you don't have the ability to book with me one-on-one, but you still want time with me, hop onto those Zooms. Trust me, we'll introduce ourselves if you are new to them, so it'll be okay. Anyways, I hope everybody has a great week. I love and appreciate every single one of you, and I'll talk to you very, very soon. Subscribe.